It's the kind of whiplash Donald Trump is known for. Heated threats, a quick retreat, uncertainty, and instability ruling the day. All starting on social media, with Trump promising an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada. Offended apparently by Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who imposed an energy surcharge as part of Canada's retaliation plan.
If the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
The White House press secretary calling Ford's words egregious and insulting.
There would be grave consequences imposed on Canada if they think about shutting off electricity.
The White House then suggesting annexation as a solution to these Canada-U.S. tensions.
And I actually looked into some of the research about the cost of living in Canada, and the cost of living is much higher than it is here. The president has made it clear that he believes Canadians would be better served economically, militarily, if they were to become the 51st state of the United States of America.
As the briefing wrapped up, there was word of a breakthrough. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick called Premier Ford with a request to drop the energy surcharge in exchange for in-person meetings this week, a deal the Premier accepted.
I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two.
Already Canada, and I respect very much.
The Ford phone call seemed to please Trump, standing beside Elon Musk at an unusual event to boost his car company Tesla. The president hinted he was open to relief.
Just to be clear, for the 50%, is that going to go into effect on Canada or no?
Which one?
The 50% tariffs?
I'll let you know about it. Yeah,
okay.
I'll let you.
Though he again suggested the long-term solution here is annexation.
When you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, yeah. And that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, rah. Well, when you take away that and you look at that beautiful formation of Canada and the United States, there is no place anywhere in the world that looks like that.
Trump would revert back to his original threat, the White House confirming a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum with no exceptions or exemptions.
Thank you very much.
Amid this chaos, Trump had to face American business leaders who are urgently seeking clarity. But instead, the president offered more mixed messages.
They don't want to pay 25% or whatever it may be. It may go up higher, maybe go up higher.
Trump is urging Americans to be patient, even as he warns of what he calls disturbances to the cost of living. He insists tariffs will force companies to build factories in the U.S., and once that starts happening, he claims the economy will boom.
But, Katie, it's pretty clear that some economic measures are definitely not booming. Investors sure seem to be jittery.
Yeah, the markets remain volatile. The S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq all closed lower. Trump dismissed concerns about those losses, even though in the past he's used it as a benchmark, the stock market, to measure his success.
All right, Katie Simpson in Washington. Now, you might wonder about the role of the U.S. Congress in this tariff tussle. It could get involved, could challenge the legal basis for the tariffs, but today the Republican majority made sure that Congress won't get involved. The Republican-controlled House not only blocked a Democratic Party call for a vote to challenge the tariffs, but as it then voted on an unrelated spending bill, it used a procedural mechanism to make sure no tariff challenge can be made for the rest of the year. The Canadian government says it is ready to respond to the new tariffs. Its goal to inflict pain on the U.S. economy. Ashley Burke now with the work being done to prepare to punch back.
The next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
When Liberals chose Mark Carney to replace Justin Trudeau, they all knew job one was how to handle Donald Trump.
We cannot let him succeed.
Now Trump's given him a taste of what he's facing. And as Carney met with Canada's ambassador to the U.S., the country's fentanyl czar, and the chief of defense staff, his supporters say he's ready.
There will be pain. Tariff wars cause pain. They're a bad idea. Canada's against tariff wars. But Mr. Carney, what he does is he becomes a team captain of a heck of a team. And what a team captain.
Trump's threat to double steel and aluminum tariffs caused chaos.
He's also an economic arsonist. He is setting fire to his own economy, not just us.
Even though today's threat vanished as quickly as it arrived, the steel industry is reeling.
We've already seen production curtailments, job losses, and deferral of investments in our facilities. So this is a crisis. We're in it.
Many will be hoping something good comes out of those talks set for Thursday in Washington, with Dominic LeBlanc joining Doug Ford.
Let's cool everyone down. Cooler heads have to prevail.
Ontario's premier says the surcharge he paused on electricity exports to the U.S. was part of the Team Canada approach to get the Americans' attention.
I've been mentioning it for probably the last 3 or 4 weeks, and then we had to make a move. Did it catch their attention? That's an understatement. They caught their attention.
The federal government says it's ready to respond to U.S. tariffs on any Canadian products, including steel and aluminum.
We will do everything proportionately to the U.S., and that will inflict major harm on the U.S. economy.
Carney posting online, "My government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect and make credible, reliable commitments to free and fair trade."
Doug Ford says he's hoping that when he and Dominic LeBlanc meet with Trump's Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, they can start constructive talks towards a new free trade agreement.
And so, Ashley, let's talk a little bit more about Canada's steel industry in particular, because the impacts of this tariff obviously could be massive.
Yeah, Adrienne, the Canadian Steel Producers Association says it considers the U.S. market now closed and is calling on the federal government to give their sector a fighting chance by retaliating dollar for dollar with tariffs, releasing measures for workers, and making it mandatory that Canadian steel is used first on major infrastructure projects. The federal government is expected to respond tomorrow with matching tariffs.
All right, we'll see what happens. Ashley Burke in Ottawa.